Hello, metallurgists. I am back on the attack with a triple threat of new releases coming out on Friday, July 26th. Stick around to see what things are about to get dropped. Hello, everybody. My name is Alan, and I'm very happy to be here on Heavy Metallurgy today to review not one, not two, but three new releases coming out on Dying Victims Productions. This is a label out of Germany that's done an excellent job in recent years of releasing a lot of cool new wave of traditional heavy metal type material. And this is a style that, for some folks, it's like, the best thing ever, going back and hearing kind of bands play the classic sounds all over again. For other people, it can feel a little tired and cliche. But Dying Victims Productions does a very good job of picking out sort of the top bands in this movement, ones that have a lot of, charisma, can really deliver the goods on this. And it's not always an easy thing to do. None of these bands per se really are inventing anything new. They're not pushing metal into new boundaries whatsoever. So when you kind of give up on originality, you've got to be really, really good at some other aspects. And these kind of bands tend to deliver really well in terms of energy, catchiness, and capturing an older school sound without feeling just completely derivative of some other band. And everybody we talk about today is going to fit that kind of description quite well. It reminds me of an interview I once read with an up and coming blues artist. And the interviewer asked them, it's like, why do young people keep trying to play the blues? It's been around forever. It's a relatively straightforward form of music. Hasn't everything already been done? I mean, why would you want to do that? And the young artist replied simply, it's like, we do it because we think that we can take those same basic elements of the blues and play them better than anyone else has played them before. And I think that kind of fits the new wave of traditional heavy metal as well. They're not trying to really add a whole lot to the heavy metal formula, but you get the sense that, yeah, they've got the charisma to feel like maybe we can do this even better than the old bands did. All right. Up first for discussion is the new release from Mean Mistreater. This is a new band out of Austin, Texas, and they've released their debut full length called Razor Wire. Now, it looks like this one got an independent release earlier in 2024 during February, but Dying Victims Productions is putting it out for wider distribution again on July 26th. Mean Mistreater follows, a classic heavy metal template with, strong vocals delivered by Janice Gonzalez. She's got a very strong, sort of tough voice that's very good for this style of music. And she is accentuated by, two fabulous guitarists who have, absolutely killer solos, lots of energy, tons of energy and hooks throughout all the songs. It's exactly what a band like this needs to deliver. If you're not going to play something new and original, you want to play something that's highly memorable and really, really fun. And the Razor Wire album is insanely fun to listen to. Through the first 6 songs, it's sort of just banger after banger in that classic, early to mid 1980s style. But again, Razor Wire is not trying to sound like an album from that era as a copycat clone or anything. Sure, the sound slots into what bands have done throughout the ages of heavy metal, but Mean Mistreater aren't trying to be a Riot clone. They're not trying to be an Iron Maiden clone. They're not trying to be a Judas Priest clone. When you stop and think about it, you're like, no, they don't sound exactly like anyone else. If anything, they sound closer to some contemporaries, maybe bands like Savage Master or Lady Beast, something more akin to those. But I feel like the Mean Mistreater songs are just more fun and, again, kind of stick more quickly in my brain than a lot of their contemporaries do. So yes, Razor Wire comes highly recommended. Yeah, I was on Heavy Metallurgy's Friday night live stream recently. We were talking about our favorite albums from the first half of the year. I didn't include the Mean Mistreater album because it's not technically getting released until the end of July. But I have a strong feeling this one might creep onto my end of year top 10 list. It really is that good and that fun to listen to. If I'm going to nitpick on it a little bit, just a couple of things to point out. The last two songs do lose a little bit of that high energy, catchy, rocking out feeling that the first six songs have. It's not a bad thing. If anything, it kind of shows that Mean Mistreater has a little more sonic variability, that every song doesn't have to be just an interchangeable, another heavy metal fist banging anthem. I just don't know if I would have put those two songs back to back together to end the album because again, most of the album has been pretty high octane and really fun to listen to. Those last two songs, yeah, a little quieter, good tunes, but I probably would have broken them up a little bit and maybe had a banger at the end instead of those two back to back. Other thing to point out is that it's a very short album. You get 8 songs, only clocks in at about 27 minutes and change. So it's too many songs to call it a mini album, but when you're under that 30-minute mark, it does tend to feel like that's a really short album. However, I don't think it's a huge problem for this release because it delivers so well. It does exactly what it needs to. Most of the songs are just above the 3-minute mark, so they come in, they hit you, very quickly with those catchy, verse chorus kind of structures, throw in a great guitar solo, but then they wrap it all up and move on to the next one. So nothing ever feels like it's going to overstay its welcome or that it just had some long, unnecessary bridge thrown in the middle for no reason whatsoever. It's a good, tight, compact album. It hits all the right buttons. And yeah, really impressed with a new band kind of nailing it on their first release the way Mean Mistreater has. Right, release number 2 from Dying Victims Productions this Friday is from the Austrian band. Yes, we're moving from Austin, Texas to Austria. The band is called Death Racer, and the album is called From Gravel to Grave. You might already be picking up that they're going to lean into this whole racing theme just a little bit and kind of mix it in. It's not Formula One. We're not talking NASCAR. We're talking like Mad Max, Thunder Road, post-apocalyptic, burn the wheels off the tire in a blaze of glory as Armageddon commences kind of racing here. And that's exactly what the music sounds like here. We're talking sort of, old school speed thrash metal. These songs are meant to be very fast. They tend to have one main riff, one main giant hook to keep you paying attention as the song blasts away. The thing that really makes Death Racer stand out, however, are the vocals. The vocalist is singing in this just kind of insane, over the top, slightly blackened howl. I don't know how else to describe it. And it adds a lot of character to the music. It's something that I don't have really a great comparison point for. It's kind of a unique vocal style, especially for a band playing in this, speed thrash vein of music. The album is a bit of a one-trick pony. Once you hear one song, you know what the others are going to do. Okay, so as you can hear from that, the band is going to do one thing, but they're going to do it very, very well. And between the fun cover artwork, some crazy song titles, these maniacal vocals, the whole idea here is that this is going to be a sort of blasphemously fun listen. It's not meant to be taken extremely seriously, but at the same time, it's not just a joke project or anything like that either. You can absolutely crank these up and rock out to them. Every song is going to do one thing really well, come in, come out, and blast away, and you're going to have a good time listening to it. So yeah, Death Racer kind of doing their own thing here. Again, they're trying to channel an old school sound, but they're not trying to copy some speed metal master from the 1980s. They have their own unique imprint here. This album's already gotten a little bit of a push over on Banger TV. So best of luck to Death Racer. Hope you make it across the finish line before you blow up that engine. All right, and third, but certainly not least here in the pecking order from Dying Victims Productions this week, is an EP from Demon Spell. This is a new project from Italy, but it includes some folks who have been on the Italian metal scene for quite some time. Demon Spell is going for what's probably best described as a simplified early Merciful Fate kind of vibe. When you start to listen to this EP, you're definitely going to pick up on classic early King Diamond or early Merciful Fate kind of sounds, but it's a lot less technical. They're not trying to copy the masters, and I think that's a good choice. Early Merciful Fate and King Diamond is one of those things that really is never going to be successfully duplicated, so why try? It's okay to sound a bit like them, but give it your own twist. And so, yeah, the song structures are more straightforward. They're not going to be as crazy over the top technical as anything. Similarly, the vocalist has, a sound that's similar to King's kind of mid-range, and Demon Spell isn't afraid to, start going up in the register a little bit, but he's not trying to go, to the same exact falsetto octave that King Diamond can do. Again, there's no need to try to copy that because then you're just going to feel probably like a cheap copycat. Demon Spell doesn't feel like that by keeping the music more streamlined and using, the vocal range that he's comfortable with. You get the impression of, some good Merciful Fate material, but it still feels like Demon Spell. You would never listen to this and be like, oh, that's just Merciful Fate. Be like, no, this is someone who's doing the Merciful Fate thing their own way. And that's what really works for the better new wave of traditional heavy metal kind of projects. Again, this is only an EP, so we just get to hear the band across 4 songs, but all 4 of them are quite good. I think the last track is the best of the 4, but it works incredibly well and shows a lot of promise for hopefully a Demon Spell full length in the not too distant future. So yeah, Demon Spell is, borrowing from one of the classics, but they're making it into their own thing. And, there's been a lot of talk about, another sort of, Merciful Fate inspired band this year with the release of the new Attic record. Attic and Demon Spell are approaching things in 2 different ways, however, just to make it clear. I don't want folks to think, oh, this is just another band doing what Attic does. Attic spends a lot of their time in the falsetto vocal range, which is okay. They've got the vocal chops to pull it off, but it can start to wear on you after a while. And also, Attic is trying to infuse a couple of more modern elements into the Merciful Fate formula. There's a little bit of a black metal vibe worked in there, kind of weaved into the music to good effect. Demon Spell's not trying to incorporate anything that's more modern like that. They're sticking again to some good classic traditional metal chops, and it works quite well for them. So it's kind of cool that you see 2 bands drawing influence from Merciful Fate, but doing so in different ways and kind of, again, making that sound their own by 2 different approaches. All right, so there you have it. 3 new releases from Dying Victims Productions, and all 3 come recommended. Dying Victims stuff can sometimes be a little hard to track down in the United States, but there are some distros out there that will carry them, so keep your eyes peeled for any of these 3. All good stuff. If you want just, classic anthemic metal, Mean Mistreater is your way to go. If you want it a bit faster and a bit, more insane in the vocal department, Death Racer is the one to pick up. And if you want to hear something, cool, it's going to inspire you to think of, don't break the oath without just being a total copycat, Demon Spell is the band to keep your eye on. But then again, If one of them is in your shopping cart, why not all three? That's going to do it for today's reviews here on Heavy Metallurgy. Keep an eye on the channel for more reviews in the future. The Album Club live streams on Wednesday night, where Marty and the guys take a classic album and kind of pick it apart. And also the live streams on Friday nights, where they bring in a cool guest to talk about some topic from the great, vast heavy metal underground that we all know and love. Until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.